Mnasikia? Tuko na Mungu na tuko na wananchi.
Baba hajachoka. Baba hajachoka. Ako tayari. Je, nyinyi mko tayari? Mko tayari?
Some images there of the weekend that was. And as you can see, the face masks are off. No more pretense about it. And reggae, for all intents and purposes, is back. That's the discussion we want to get into right now. And of course, remember, you can weigh in. 22422 is the SMS line. Hashtag is Newsnight. Joining me for this discussion is the ODM chair, John Mbadi, leader of minority in the National Assembly, together with Kimani Ichung'wah, MP for Kikuyu, and also immediate former chair, actually, of the Finance Committee in Parliament. Gentlemen, I trust both of you can hear me loud and clear. And I want to begin by posing a personal responsibility question to the both of you. At a personal level for you, Kimani Ichung'wah, because we saw you at one of those rallies, and of course at a party level for you, John Mbadi. My question is, members of your parties actually violated COVID-19 restrictions this weekend. And we have that video proof. We've just watched it. How do you feel about this, bearing in mind you attended rallies where people did not wear masks, there was no social distancing? You possibly put Kenyans at risk tonight. Kimani Ichung'wah, let's start with you. Your response.
Thank you, Waiguru. Maybe just first let me apologize because of my voice. Of course, from the activities of the weekend, my voice may not be as good as it ought to be. And I attended a church service, 2 church services actually in Kitengela on Sunday. And if that is what you call a violation of the COVID protocols, I don't think so, because churches have been reopened. There are protocols on what ought to happen within those church gatherings.
Can I be a bit more specific?
What happens outside the church?
I can be a bit more specific.
What happens outside the church, Waiguru, I can tell you, is not in our control. And I think if you saw what happened in Kitengela, is members of the public who stopped by the roadside and actually blocked the motorcade of His Excellency, the Deputy President, from proceeding on to Nairobi. And in fact, you will see, probably that's why I lost my voice, because even the PA system he had was not for use in what ought to be a rally per se. So
Kimani Ichung'wah, let me get this right. Let me get this right.
Him when he's speaking.
Kimani Ichung'wah, and we have some of that footage, maybe not from Kitengela, possibly from Kisii, and John Mbadi, I'm coming to you on the same. You're telling me that the Deputy President, with all his security, was, in a sense, held hostage. He couldn't move. You couldn't leave that gathering. You were captured by this crowd that you had to address them.
Look at the clips, Waiguru, from Kisii. What seems to be a rally is actually in the middle of town. He is on the way from where he landed onto where he was to hold a function that had very clear protocol adherence to the protocol guidelines with social distancing. That was the youth empowerment program that was taking him to Kisii. Otherwise, you will not stop members of the public from receiving their own deputy president wherever he goes around the country. And I think, again, Waiguru, we must also be honest as leaders. We must be honest with ourselves to know that indeed we have done well as a country in terms of being able to contain the pandemic. And maybe what the public are telling us is that it is probably time to reopen the economy. And for me, that's really where I would rather we move our discussion to. What are we doing in terms of being able to move beyond this pandemic?
And I'm taking you there shortly.
Pandemic forever. It might be the new normal.
Yes, and I'm taking you there shortly. But before I bring in John Mbadi, again, I'm surprised. You're saying that you were forced to address members of the public. And what concerned me was when I looked at you in one of those clips, you are on top of a vehicle, so obviously you are somehow socially distant. You had a microphone, you spoke to them. I don't know if that microphone was disinfected. There was a big crowd around you. Were there any concerns when you were there, Kimani Ichung'wah? Did it at any point occur to you that that in terms of how COVID-19 spreads, this could be a hot spot? Did that occur to you?
I will tell you when the microphone was disinfected. We had masks right from church. You saw even when we were in church, even when we were singing in church. Whether the crowds are able to social distance, I will tell you, beyond the point where we stopped, we passed through a market where people were not social distancing and they were trading, going about their day-to-day business, Wahiga. And that's why I'm saying maybe we should be asking ourselves, are Kenyans getting fatigued by the protocols that we are asking them to adhere to, while we are not adhering to the same protocols when it comes to management of public resources, when it comes to utilization of public funds that were set aside by the National Assembly and by our government for use to fight this pandemic. We have seen those COVID funds ending up in people's pockets to the billions. And we have now the new term in town, the COVID billionaires, or the KEMSA COVID haste. Therefore, Kenyans also, that's what I'm saying, to be honest, Kenyans are also fatigued, and they are getting fatigued. And they are thirsty. You will not expect that the deputy president, because he has security around him, for them to tear gas or to beat up people. Maybe those in power may want to do that, but the deputy president is not in the habit of tear gassing and beating up people simply because they are receiving him.
Fair enough. The war on corruption is a topic I'm getting to shortly, but let me also bring in John Mbadi. And John Mbadi, thank you for your time. As ODM chair, I didn't see you in any rallies this weekend, but I saw many members of your party, including the party leader, Honorable Raila Odinga. Again, did you, as you watch those clips, probably at night, were you concerned with those images, John Mbadi? Were you concerned that some Kenyans could actually contract COVID-19 because of stopovers or the gatherings we saw in Mombasa and in Kwale for ODM?
Thank you, Wahiga. I get you clearly and I've understood your question. I've also listened to Kimani Ichung'wah's response. I want to just be candid here and say that I think as Kenyan leaders, we are not honest with ourselves and the public. Let us face facts. What we saw over the weekend, both in Kisii, whether at the coast by ODM, and in Kisii, Kitengela by the Deputy President, the meeting I held in Migori was not as crowded as these others, but we must accept that there was overcrowding. We must accept that there was no social distancing. We must accept that majority of the people in those rallies didn't wear masks. I am not sure whether they were sanitizing, but I think what probably we need to discuss at this stage is what is the recent or current discussion about COVID-19. Listening to scientists, I think we are coming to a conclusion that we are flattening the curve. And we have also to be alive to the fact that
where are you getting
engage. And John, so probably
where are you getting your data from? Because the Ministry of Health says we are still not yet there.
But you see, Wahiga, don't speak for the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health has not been communicating properly with Kenyans. You can't give mixed signals. When you start talking of you can increase the number attending to churches, you can now increase the number attending funerals, you can now increase the age limit of people who are going to churches. I mean, you are giving mixed signals. Remember previously, from March, there was very clear communication from the Ministry of Health. Let us accept that politicians want to engage. February, March is too far. What we probably need the government to do is to clearly come out with the protocols to guard or control public rallies. You cannot stop political events, yet you are giving mixed signals. Mixed signals have been given by the Ministry of Health. It is high time that we accept and see how to open our schools, allow political engagements to take place, because we have to talk to our people. For example, I had a meeting in Migori to discuss the issues of accountability. The people of Migori needed to engage. How do you engage with your people when you can't meet? You can see Parliament is increasing the number of those who are supposed to attend Parliament. There was a communication to that effect today. So we are telling the whole country that life is getting back to normal. You cannot play hot and cold at the same time. Let us be frank and accept that we are moving to a stage where we are going back to normal life. And so just ask ourselves, is the way we are doing it, is it the way we should do it, or there is something else we should do?
John Mbadi, I was hoping to hear from either you or Kimani Ichung'wah about what some Kenyans feel is the selfish nature of our political class, irrespective of their political leanings, whether in government or in opposition. In a country where many are concerned about the state of law and order, and I want to show you some pictures, if we can put some of those pictures up, of what happened a few months ago when Kenyans were caught out past curfew, other Kenyans were caught out in crowds. I don't know if both of you can see this, but these are Kenyans who are being beaten by police. These are Kenyans who
I can't see anything.
You can't see anything. But you remember a couple of months ago how Kenyans were...
But I'm sure I know what you are exactly showing us.
Good. Now look at those pictures.
You can show it to Kenyans and then you can react.
Hang on, John Mbadi. Yeah. I'm going to ask the question. Hang on. I just want our viewers to just get a sense of this for 30 seconds. Gentlemen, you may not have seen those pictures, but I know you are avid TV viewers, and we do read some of your feedback on some of our programs, so you know those images. That sound you could hear was the sound of a stick landing on a member of the public who was either caught out after curfew or being found in some sort of gathering. And some would ask tonight, does the political class have a different set of rules that they adhere to, very different from ordinary members of the public, John Mbadi?
You see, Waiga, I have said, let us face facts here.
But first answer
this period of time.
First answer my question.
Around
John Mbadi, please answer my question, because it seems like the political class has a different set of rules. Yes or no?
How do you expect me to answer you yes or no? I have to reason out.
Okay, you give it us. I want to narrow you in on that, because if that was ordinary Kenyans...
it's long since I answered yes or no in any question.
Okay, go ahead. What is your response?
So does it mean you don't have time to listen to what I'm saying?
No, we
just want a yes or no.
We have time, but I do want to get your answer before your explanation, because I did ask you a question.
If you have time, then let me answer your question.
Go ahead.
Rather than saying yes or no.
Go ahead.
Yes or no, to me, is very simplistic.
Go ahead, John Mbadi. Go ahead.
Pardon?
Yes, I'm saying please proceed.
What I was saying is let us be honest with ourselves. Between March and around the time when the government started relaxing the rules, the Kenyan public was very fearful. We were very much afraid of COVID-19. Wahiga, we are denying the obvious. If you go to the villages, and I go to my constituency quite often. I was there last weekend, and even beyond. The fear is gone, and this is because the government is now giving mixed signals to this COVID-19. And that's why I'm saying if government has reached a level where it is now assumed that the curve is flattening, as many people are talking or saying, then we need just to communicate it and tell the public that now you can engage even in political events, but this is the protocol to follow. We can prescribe protocol for politicians and political leaders. But when you start giving mixed signals, you are saying now people can, you can increase the number of people attending churches, you can increase the number of people attending funerals. I attended a funeral last Friday, and it was packed. People didn't have masks. Even the microphone being used is one. So, Wahiga, I mean, if you just concentrate on a few political leaders whom we are seeing on TV, we are missing the point. The government is not communicating properly now.
And that is your view?
There is no question of set of rules here. It is the state where we are today. We are not as afraid as we were before. So about COVID-19.
Do you believe those leaders who are out this weekend owe the Mwananchi an apology? And maybe I could even start with Kimani Ichung'wah on that, because he was one of those we saw out there. And for you, Kimani Ichung'wah, I want to show you a tweet that was posted by the Senator of Nairobi County, Sakaja Johnson Arthur. I believe I've read his full names out. And this is what he posted when he saw those pictures. He said, naona hizi COVID rules ni kama ni za kunishikanisha tu. Hata sisikii vibaya. And he posted pictures of different gatherings with different leaders. Kimani Ichung'wah, do you think you owe Kenyans an apology tonight?
Wahiga, if that tweet you are reading from somebody who was not arrested at 2 a.m. in a bar at the time COVID was at its peak, then maybe I would have a response. But I want to agree
Some
with
would
John
ask,
Mbadi.
what's the difference?
Some weeks back, people were fearful. The situation was not as it is today. But you're asking a yes or no question and you are demanding a yes or no answer, whether we have a different set of rules as political leaders or not. Ideally, we do not have a different set of rules from the rest of the public. But because we are not in an ideal democratic state, yes, the rules are different. That is why at the time COVID was at its peak in this country, CS Eugene Wamalwa, Council of Governors Chair Oparanya, would hold rallies with thousands of people in Western Kenya. But Senator Boni Halwale and Honorable Ashiali, Didmas Baraza and the others would not be allowed to hold a meeting of 20 people. They would not even be allowed to console with a colleague who had lost their mother when there were only 15 people in a homestead. Therefore, we have set out different rules for different political inclinations, not even the political class. And if we are honest with ourselves, as John Mbadi says, let's just be honest to say that those who are in power today have been paralyzed by COVID, this COVID pandemic. They have no idea on what to do beyond the crisis. And they are still in the paralysis of COVID, the COVID pandemic, without an idea, and that's why, Waihiga, I have been very particular. If you listen to what I said in Kitengela, both at the church and at the rally, I say that we should now be moving beyond thinking about the pandemic to having a clear vision of where we ought to be moving as a country beyond the pandemic. We are not able to overcome this crisis if we can see beyond this crisis. If we get paralyzed by this crisis, we will never see beyond it. And I'll therefore just want to conclude that debate by saying we do not have a different set of rules. We shouldn't have, but those in power, again, as I said, because they have been paralyzed by the pandemic, because they wanted to use the COVID pandemic to fix their politics, I think they are still in that paralysis. They should get out of that paralysis, think beyond this crisis and steer the country towards solutions beyond the crisis.
Okay.
And I think for us, we are very focused on that.
I want to take this conversation forward, but before that, you said something very interesting. Those who are in power. You're in the Jubilee Party. The Jubilee Party is in power. Who are you referring to?
I think when I say that, you know John Mbadi, and I'm happy to have this engagement with John Mbadi because one is a very honest gentleman. I was waiting to hear whether he would concede that he was in a meeting where there was no social distancing, and I could see him being covered with an umbrella addressing a rally in Migori, and the rest of the public were being rained on. But that aside, those in power, I don't think it's news. They have told us that Raila Odinga now is in power, and they have not hidden anything from it. And therefore, those who have formed the Corona Coalition, you have seen it during the pandemic.
You call
they
it
were
what?
allowed to do whatever they wanted.
The Corona
Coalition?
Coalition?
Allowed to loot KEMSA with unmeasured impunity. You can see there is some circus going on in parliamentary committees and elsewhere, but I'll tell you, all that will end to naught. If you look at how those investigations have been conducted, there are a lot of questions to be answered. There are a lot of companies that ought to have been called to those committees, both in the Senate and in the National Assembly. I am seeing a rushed attempt to conclude those reports and have them brought to sanitize the entire process. But I think, as I said, we'll still have a discussion on our commitment on the fight against corruption and whether we were really committed to fight against corruption and where we want to move this country in that fight, and also beyond the pandemic, what we need to do.
Okay, I had one or two more questions about the pandemic, but since you've introduced the war on corruption angle, let's get into it. And I'm of course going to have to give John Mbadi a right of reply. You've mentioned some coalition. You called it the Corona Coalition. I haven't had that one. That's new, Kimani Ichung'wah. Maybe you'll explain a bit more about who exactly these are. But for you, John Mbadi, even as you respond to that...
Kenyans know it.
Pardon?
Kenyans know it.
Oh, Kenyans know it. Okay, I'm a Kenyan and I don't know it. Hopefully you'll define it better for me. But let's talk about the state of corruption. And John Mbadi, you can talk a bit about this. In addition to flouting COVID-19 rules, what we've also seen is the flouting of procurement regulations. At least it is alleged at the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA, and even the Ministry of Health. And gentlemen, there is a sense of resignation amongst Kenyans about whether the truth will come out, whether issues are raised but nothing happens after that. And I want to use the recent questioning of KEMSA and ministry officials by you, that is the National Assembly, and both of you represent the National Assembly for purposes of this program tonight. And the question that many Kenyans are asking tonight is, what will come out of that questioning by the National Assembly? John Mbadi, let's start with you on that one, even as you respond to what Kimani had to say.
Yeah, there is very little to respond to on what Kimani Ichung'wah has said. I just want to clarify that it's not true that I was covered by umbrella and others were being rained on. Actually, the meeting I had was not a public rally. It was a meeting of delegates, of ODM delegates, and they were all seated under tents. So I could not also speak and sit under tent. I walked out of the tent and so had to be covered by an umbrella. I don't want Kimani Ichung'wah to portray a picture of a very insensitive leader in the name of John Mbadi. I'm never like that. So no one was rained on. But further, let me just put it clearly that there is no coalition called Corona Coalition. I've not heard about it. At least if it exists, then I don't know the membership of that coalition. Still, on the issues of corruption, you know, one thing that I don't understand with Kimani Ichung'wah, and he's a very good friend of mine, is they have chosen to play the role of opposition, which I think is very good, but they are not playing it very well. I think we have invited them previously, and they are not taking this offer. It's a very free offer. They are not paying for it. They can come for some tutorials from some of us who have been in this game for long. I mean, you don't really have to wait for committees to investigate a matter. You can also do an independent work, because if you really know that there are these companies that were involved in corruption, and we have all said, and I want to repeat it here categorically, that if there are Kenyans out there who, for whatever reason, decided to profit out of this unfortunate situation that we found ourselves in, those are immoral people. They behave in a godly manner. These are people who should be called out for who they are. I get worried when I hear leaders like Kimani Ichung'wah, who probably have this information about who these people are and what these companies are. Why they're not coming out like we used to do and call out these people, call out these individuals. And the way they're behaving, they are giving credence to those who are saying that they're just playing politics and rumor mongering and propaganda, peddling propaganda. I want to ask Kimani Ichung'wah, and he seems to be a young, energetic personality, a member of parliament. I can see with Kositany, there are quite a number of them who can play robust opposition politics in parliament. Please come out and mention these companies by name and the owners of the company, so that action can be taken against them. I want to believe that our committees are doing a good job. If they are not, if they fail to do a good job, I know the right place to reprimand them, and that will be the floor of the National Assembly. I've done it before. Remember the sugar report. The committees, the two committees didn't do it very well, and I came out very strongly and said, we sent you to go and find out if there is bad sugar in the country, and you didn't do that. If these people, if these committees, the health committee, will bring us a half-baked report, I have a priority in speaking, and I will speak my mind properly at that time. I don't want to speculate at this point in time.
Okay. I think, and before you've posed a question to Kimani Ichung'wah, I'll give you, hold on, Honorable Ichung'wah. Let me still ask you something here, Honorable Mbadi. And this is still, remember when we're talking about COVID-19, we're talking about double standards. And some say that even when it comes to the war on corruption and how political parties respond to allegations against either members of their parties or not, there's also a double standard as well. And Honorable John Mbadi, on this particular matter, your party has been accused of double standards. Let me read this out to you. Some say that your party was very happy to defend Anne Waiguru when she was accused of misappropriating, I think it was about 23 million Kenya shillings. We also saw your party very spirited when it came to crucifying the former governor of Kiambu County, Ferdinand Waitito, over, I should believe, over 25 million Kenya shilling allegation of corruption. And now we are seeing an ODM party very excited over Okoth Obado and the tribulations that we see him in. explain to many Kenyans the difference where you have a governor who it is alleged was involved in some sort of misappropriation of funds, even a governor like Ojamong. We don't hear much from ODM about it, but on a different governor, ODM is quick to act on that. What's the difference, John Mbadi?
Let me answer you, Waiga.
Yes.
It is simple. ODM party did not pronounce itself and did not direct any of its senators to help Waiguru out of the impeachment motion. It was individual members of ODM party who some supported Anne Waiguru, some like John Mbadi came out very strongly. And remember, the media reported